What was the most awkward disturbing thing you have ever overheard? NSFW. Was going down a logging road with a handheld radio and a trucker says over the radio to his buddy, "My sperm count is so high my wife chews before she swallows." Walking behind 3 girls, they're maybe in 7th grade or something. Suddenly one asks the others, "Can you take a bath while having diarrhea?" I just froze right in my step because I was so taken aback by this. My freshman year of high school, there were these 2 super nasty girls in my English class. One was a senior and the other a junior, I think. There were only a few of us in the room including the teacher when one of them brought up umbrellas in their conversation. The other cut her off saying, "Umbrellas? I masturbate with umbrellas. Just open, close, open, close." It was impossible not to hear it too. In high school, walking down the hallway, I didn't have a condom, so I just did it with my pants on. We still don't know what exact he was describing. I was sitting on a train and there was a brother and sister I worked with riding in the seat behind me. They didn't notice it was me as I had a hood on and they were super cuddly. I then heard him whisper to her, "I can't wait to be inside you later," and her me neither response. When I shared a house with a couple, they brought back friends one night while I was sleeping, and I woke to hear my housemates in the living room talking it about me to their friends. So I got up and walked through the living room on my way to the kitchen to get a glass of water, saying hi as I went. Silence. I imagine outer space sounds like that. Just yesterday at work, GameStop, a mom came in with 5 really annoying kids. A kid asked for a game, which he brought to me, as I am pulling the game out of the drawer. The kid asks for a second game. The mom tells him she is only getting him 1 game. The kid responds by calling his mom a cheap whore. The kid was about 7-8. Really loudly. The mom still bought him the first game. Having breakfast with the 2 guys who had been double teaming my then fiance registered sign. Lots of detail. Loads of detail. Okay, so I live in Hamburg, Germany, and there is the Reeperbahn. It's basically a part of town where all the party and prostitution goes down near the harbor. My friend and I stumbled out of this bar pretty drunk into a dark back road, trying to get down to the water to smoke a spliff. It was October, so it was raining and my friend stumbled, so we sat down in a door entrance. It was right at the corner of the street and I heard voices. I tell my friend to shut up and we hear a woman saying, "Yeah, I shoved the rose up his D and forgot to take the thorns off. So he wants to sue me." I hear a male answering, "He better not. It's going to be expensive and you will have to pay yourself." I'm like, what the duck is going on? So we walk around the corner as if nothing happened and there is a guy who is clearly a pimp and his really ducked up prostitute. The guy was really muscular and gave us a really long look and we noped the duck out of there. Yeah, it was all in German. Co-worker in the cubicle next to me. Under her breath, "Jesus, my crotch stinks. This was unsafe for work because I gagged. And that's unsafe for work." Really hot girl in high school came back from the bathroom. I heard her say to her girlfriend, "My asshole is like 3 times bigger now." Never could look at her the same way. Those isomists are due to bomb someplace pretty soon. Guy filling my oil tank on the 9th of October 2001 while discussing oil prices. Wasn't a bomb and by someplace. I think he meant in the Middle East, but still. I was on a bus once and some crazy guy was talking to an invisible person. I wasn't paying any attention to it until he pointed to a young couple a few seats up and said, "So you're saying I take a clock to these 2 and you'll give me how much?" The guy then started talking about something else with the invisible person, but it really had me on edge. The couple got off 2 stops later and I decided if the crazy guy got off too I'd go after him, but he stayed on and got off several stops later. Overheard 2 girls on the back of the bus talking about the time one of their brothers was removing packs of sugar out of his asshole. My then roommate talking crap about my other roommate's wife while he was there. It gets better too. The trash talker was living rent free for a couple months at their house BC. She was an alcoholic who had nowhere else to go and was using the wife's cell phone. Told my buddy to go listen for 5 minutes. He kicked her out that day. Chicks discussing the relation between pulling the label off a Coke bottle and the losing of their virginity. I was walking behind some young looking high school aged girls. and one girl was telling the others of her recent experience with an L6. Her friends asked her what it was like and she said, "It's like pooping, only backwards." 3 years ago I overheard a girl in science class talking to her friend about how proud she was about losing her virginity at the age of 14. My old roommate had a phone scanner. Back when phones weren't this 2.4 GHz spread spectrum hooey. We had two slightly disturbing calls we overheard. One was the mother of a little girl, 5-7 years old, that lived across the hall from us, calling her ex-husband to inform him that the girl had microwaved the pet bird because Satan told her to. The other was a guy calling his male lover for a bit of water sports cat related phonetics. Also, if you want to make sure no one is listening to your gay water sport scatstics besides the NSA, make sure you're using a landline. Was at a tire brake mechanic. Wait for them to finish aligning my wheels. Guy comes in, goes up to the front desk and says his tire had a slow leak because midgets slashed it during the night. What? Pretty sure he said his name was Salazar. Where I am from, that is not a typical name. Makes people uneasy. Overheard a guy on his phone. "I can get you one. It'll be dirty. I can take care of him for $5. I assume he was selling a stolen gun. The offering to whack the guy. I prefer Stephen Baldwin to Alec. Despicable hipster on my campus. Some guy standing on my block completely lost his it while talking to his friend about someone who had apparently murdered his mother. He started crying and screaming at the top of his lungs about how he was going to kill this guy. His friend didn't even say anything. I mean, how the duck do you respond to that dart? This was immediately after I had gotten back from a ducking awesome electronic show, Spongle, and brought me right back down to reality. Hearing that grown man wailing uncontrollably will haunt me forever. On an elevator I listened to a man discuss, on the phone, how one of his tenants blew his brains out with a shotgun and how difficult it would be to have it cleaned up and re-rented out. He was very matter of fact about it, so that was interesting. Better than the itty music though, I suppose. So, if it's a dog, they don't have a gag reflex, so you have to, like, aim to the side a little. Don't shoot straight down their throat, or they'll choke. Conversation overheard in a pizzeria from the next table over. After a minute of sitting completely bug-eyed, we finally figured out these were a couple of veterinary techs discussing how to safely administer liquid medication to different animals. But oh, those first 10 seconds. I thought I had walked into an episode of Dexter or something. When I was homeless for about a year in KY and used to walk the train tracks to kill time during the day, one day I walked up on a group of shady lifer bums who were talking about a murder they committed. Dragged a pass out bum onto the train tracks who owed another bum $5 or summit. When the train came it cut the man into 3 pieces and they threw his remains in the river near the tracks. I never walked on those tracks again after that and steered clear of them when I saw them in the churches at the food shelter. I went in the restroom at work to wash my hands and heard someone in the stall crumpling up a potato chip bag. Yes, he was enjoying a snack in the eater. I 23 meters at the time. Was in my town's library doing some homework for a college class. My laptop wasn't working, so I'm in the main part of the library doing a fire science homework. Now the computers are all lined up back to back, about 20 or so. I'm typing away and it hits 3:15 PM. The local middle school lets out at 3 and the kids usually go to the library to meet up. Use the computers to do MySpace. Stuff they couldn't do at home. Well, these two 13-14-year girls say down across from me and start talking about what they did over the weekend and stuff. Now these girls seem like the prissy rich cheerleader types. Talking about going to the mall, seeing a Twilight movie, and then one of the girls start talking about hanging out with an older guy. Turns out he's 17 and on high school. He works part-time at a gas station and she hung out with him Sunday after church. Well, she said they started fooling around with him. Now I'm not alone at the computer area, there's at least 6 or so other people doing work and these girls are talking at full volume. Not shy. So anyways, the girl said the guy wanted more so she let him finger her and that she thinks she came. Okay, now I'm thinking WTF and try to refocus on my work. But then she goes on saying how she ended up giving him head and that he came all over her face and how she loved it and couldn't wait to see him again. I'm like beet red in the face. Can't believe what I heard. I looked over to see if anyone else heard this and everyone was staring at their screens. I was shocked. Couldn't believe what I heard. I was recently in a public bathroom and one kid said to the other, "Wow, his is really big." The other replied with, "Yeah, mine is really small." I was working at a pizza buffet and during one shift I had to go out and pass the dining room. There was only one table there at the moment. 2 black kids with an older white lady. I'm guessing that they were adopted. The lady seemed to be disciplining them and she got up to go to the buffet. I overheard the boy telling his sister that "I hate her. We should kill her. Come on, let's kill her." I was legitimately creeped out by this and acted like I didn't hear anything. Crackhead to her boyfriend. "You always ducking around. You always cheating on me. You ain't getting none of my crack tonight." Overheard on the number 6 train at the Cypress Ave stop in the Bronx. My freshman year of high school, I sat down in my physics class and heard 2 girls talking about how they tried to cook eggs in their V's. I switched out later that day. 2 natives were outside a grocery store fighting. One yells at the other, "All you ever do is duck me and make me grilled cheese sandwiches." You overhear some great things on the New York subway. One time it was he shot a cop. The least he can get is 30 years. Because he shot a cop. Another time it was which block you was in at Rikers. Rikers is New York City's main jail. U and D block. My babadiddy he and D block. A girl in the locker room at my school gym was talking to her friend, at a loud volume, about how her gynecologist told her she probably needed to find a new boyfriend. Because her current boyfriend's D was too big. And it was hitting her cervix and causing her pain every time they had sex. I happened to be nearby when some people I hired were installing new shower doors in my bathroom. I'm pretty sure they didn't know when I was home because just as they were getting started after unpacking the doors they said, "Jesus Christ, all of the instructions are in duck in Chinese." Well, that buggers everything. We can't do this. All you guys ever do is install shower doors for a living. I hired you from a bathroom fitting place, and you can't install them without instructions. I work in childcare and a few weeks ago I was sitting at the table coloring with a 3-year-old girl. While she was scribbling red all over her paper I overheard her whispering, "I went to church once, but soon no one can," over and over. Heard some frat guys talking about hazing the gay out of their pledge. Once I was walking into a class at my university and I walked past 2 girls, one of whom said, "I can't do it. I can't. I can still smell colors. I can't sit through this lecture." The other girl just said, "Nah, you'll be fine, let's go in," and started to walk into the lecture hall. The tripping girl refused and her friend got all pissed but went back over to her. So that's one good thing at least. In McDonald's today we were sat down eating and this guy passed us saying, "The best part of my day is shagging my girlfriend." He just walked out. He wasn't with anyone or on his phone and he wasn't talking directly to us. I think he just wanted people to think he was getting laid. The couple next to my apartment has some insane drama. I only ever hear them fighting or having sex. The sex part is awkward, disturbing for all the reasons, well, one might imagine. The fighting is some of the most intense I've ever heard. They throw stuff routinely. Who cleans it up? She says things like, "How could I go on? How can I live my life like this?" And it makes me really wonder. I don't know anything about them and have seen them only a few times, but I can't help being super nervous around them. I'm a little late to the punch, but last winter I was stuck in the Atlanta airport trying to get back home to KC after a business trip. I was sitting in the smoking lounge having a quick cigarette before going to my gate, and this really old looking lady sitting next to me is making casual conversation with the other woman on her other side. I'm browsing Reddit on my phone and can't hear their conversation over the other conversations and people yelling on their phones. Then, as it always seems to happen, the whole room of chatter goes quiet just long enough for everyone to hear this old lady practically scream. And my husband called me earlier to tell me to expect 7 inches when I get home tonight. I freeze and look out of the corner of my eye in disbelief of this lady's idea of casual conversation. She's taking a drag off her smoke, like she didn't just say what the whole room heard her say. I snuffed out my cigarette and shuffled the hell out of there, with a few other disgusted looking travelers following suit. As it turns out, I spent my time in Georgia for the past 2 weeks, and wasn't paying attention to the weather back home. A snowstorm calling for at least 6-8 inches was in progress over much of the area, which I learned after my flight was delayed. I like to think she was flying to St. Louis or something, and also learned about the snowstorm the same way I did. Not exactly overheard, but my dad let me use his laptop, so I opened it up and found a lovely pornography big black male ducks tight white teen. I was 13 at the time. How good one of my co-workers it's her after she's been ducked in the ass by her husband, comma. I was in the rec room at my college and I overheard two girls talking. One girl had just broken up with her boyfriend because he refused to hold a knife to her during sex. I didn't know that was a thing. I like drop comments in on random conversations while in the supermarket, etc. For example, if someone is having a conversation saying last night was fun, I'd just say it wasn't and carry on walking. Do this all the time to my fiance registered sign and it drives her up the wall. Her, I was shopping earlier. Me, you wasn't. Her, stop doing that, it's annoying. Me, it isn't. Her, I'm not talking to you anymore. Me, you are. I'm easily amused.